I want to begin our conversation today by shattering a myth that has held too many good people back from their true potential. We live in a society that is absolutely obsessed with the finish line. From the time we are children, we are taught to look at the prize as the ultimate definition of our worth. We are conditioned to picture the car in the driveway and the house on the hill and the applause of the crowd and the recognition of our peers. We spend our days dreaming about that specific moment when the confetti falls and the world finally acknowledges our success. We treat life as if it is a waiting room for a grand event that will solve all our problems and heal all our insecurities. But here is what I have discovered after all these years of studying human achievement and the nature of wealth. It is never really about the finish line. The finish line is an illusion. The finish line is a moving target that you never truly catch, because the moment you arrive, the horizon moves further away. If you build your entire life around the obsession with arriving, you will spend your entire life feeling empty. The true value of success is not what you get at the end. The true value is who you had to become to make it there. This is a subtle distinction, but it changes everything about how you wake up in the morning and how you do your work. If you set out on a journey just to get a trophy, you will likely quit the moment the road gets hard because the price will seem too high for a piece of metal. But if you set out on a journey to see how strong and how wise and how disciplined you can become, you will welcome the difficulty. You will see the struggle not as an obstacle to your happiness, but as the gymnasium where your character is built. The obsession has to be with the work, not the results. Why is this so critical? Because the results are just evidence. They are the byproduct. They are the trailing indicator of your personal growth. The real reward is the person you turn into through the process of struggle and discipline. I want you to think about the people you admire most in this world. Do you admire them for what they own, or do you admire them for who they are? If you stripped away their bank accounts and their titles, would they still be people of substance? The answer for the truly successful is yes, because they did not just acquire success, they became successful. This is why the obsession with the finish line is so dangerous. It tricks you into thinking that you can have the result without the transformation. It makes you want the harvest without the planting. It makes you want the victory without the battle. But life does not work that way. The marketplace is not a charity organization that hands out rewards to people who simply want them. The marketplace rewards value, and value comes from the development of the individual. Think of it like this, using the laws of nature, which are the most reliable laws we have. If you plant a seed in the ground, you do not sit outside staring at the dirt every single day demanding to see sprouts. You do not stand over the soil and yell at it to hurry up. You do not blame the earth for being slow, and you do not negotiate with the season. You understand that there is a process that cannot be rushed. You water the seed. You tend the soil. You pull the weeds. You ensure it has sunlight. You commit yourself to the work of cultivation day after day, even when you see absolutely nothing happening on the surface. And then one day growth shows up. It does not show up because you obsessed over the sprout. It shows up because you obsessed over the watering. The sprout is the result, but the watering is the cause. The problem is that so many people in our modern world quit before the sprout even breaks the surface. They have been trained by a culture of instant gratification to expect immediate feedback. They plant the seed of a new business, or a new habit, or a new skill on Monday, and by Wednesday, they are discouraged because they are not rich, or fit, or expert yet. They look at the barren ground and think it is not working. They say, I have put in effort for 2 whole weeks and I have nothing to show for it. They abandon the process right before the miracle happens. But the truth is the work was working. It just hadn't revealed itself yet. Beneath the surface, the roots were digging deep into the dark earth, establishing a foundation strong enough to hold up the future tree. If you had just kept watering, if you had just kept believing in the process, the result was inevitable. This is why the real discipline, the real mindset of the wealthy and the wise, is to become obsessed with showing up day after day, long before the results give you any encouragement. This is the hardest thing you will ever do, but it is also the most necessary. You must learn to work in the dark. You must learn to clap for yourself when no one else is watching. I have met people who put all their energy into dreaming about what life will look like when they succeed. They have vision boards covered in pictures of mansions and yachts. They have affirmations they say in the mirror. They imagine themselves standing at the top of the mountain with the wind in their hair. But they never practice climbing. And let me tell you something important. It is not the dream that takes you to the top. It is the climb. It is the blisters on your feet that prove you are moving. It is the sweat on your brow that prove you are striving. It is the daily steps taken when you are tired and when you do not feel like it, and when the weather is bad. You cannot skip the climb and still expect to appreciate the view. If I picked you up in a helicopter and dropped you at the top of Mount Everest, you would not feel the same sense of triumph as the man who climbed it from the bottom. You would see the same view, but you would not be the same person. He conquered the mountain, but more importantly, he conquered himself. You just took a ride. The finish line is the same, but the internal reality is opposites. That is why we say don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. That is the spirit of being obsessed with the work. When you obsess over the result, you become fragile. Your emotional state becomes dependent on external factors that you often cannot control. If the market goes down, you are crushed. If the client says no, you are devastated. If the progress is slow, you are depressed. You are giving your power away to the outcome. But when you obsess over the work, you become anti-fragile. You become steady. You say, I cannot control whether the client buys today, but I can control how well I present. I cannot control the economy, but I can control my skills. I cannot control the timing of the harvest, but I can control the quality of the sowing. This shift puts the power back in your hands. It allows you to find victory in the effort itself, regardless of what the scoreboard says today. If you only chase the results, you will always be frustrated because the world does not hand them out freely. But if you chase improvement, if you fall in love with the grind, the results will eventually chase you. Success is like a butterfly. If you run after it, you will never catch it. It will always fly just out of reach. But if you build a beautiful garden, the butterfly will come and land on your shoulder. The garden is your character. The garden is your competence. The garden is your discipline. Stop chasing the butterfly and start tending the garden. That is what this entire conversation is about. It is about building a way of living where you measure yourself not by trophies or applause, but by the consistency of your effort. You must begin to measure progress by the work you put in today, not just the recognition that may or may not come tomorrow. Because recognition fades, trophies gather dust, the applause eventually stops. Even the money can be spent or lost. But the discipline you build lasts a lifetime. The person you become is the only asset that you keep forever. If you become a person of high value, you can lose everything you have and you will make it all back because you still have the goose that lays the golden eggs. But if you are a person of low value who got lucky and hit a finish line by accident, you are in constant terror of losing it because you know deep down you cannot recreate it. This illusion of the finish line keeps people trapped in a state of perpetual waiting. They say, I will be happy when I get the promotion. I will be kind when I have more money. I will be generous when I am rich. I will be confident when I lose the weight. They are postponing their life. They are waiting for the external result to give them permission to be the person they want to be. But it works the other way around. You must be the person now. You must act like a wealthy person in your habits before you have the money. You must act like a leader before you have the title. You must act like a champion before you win the ring. The becoming precedes the getting. So I am asking you today to take your eyes off the horizon and look down at your feet. Look at the work that is right in front of you. That report you need to write. That call you need to make. That workout you need to do. That book you need to read. That is where the magic is. It is not glamorous. It is not exciting. It does not look like success to the outside world. It looks like boring, repetitive work. But it is the fire in which the steel of your character is forged. If you can fall in love with that boredom, if you can fall in love with the repetition, you become dangerous. You become unstoppable. Because the person who loves the walk will walk further than the person who just loves the destination. Most people want the view without the climb. But I am telling you, the climb is the point. The struggle is the point. The resistance you feel when you try to do something great is not a sign that you should stop. It is a sign that you are growing. Muscles do not grow without tension. Character does not grow without challenge. So when you face a difficult day, do not say, why is this happening to me? Say thank you for this opportunity to become better. Thank you for this resistance that is making me stronger. This is the mindset shift that separates the winners from the wishers. The wishers are waiting for the finish line. The winners are busy running the race. Let us destroy the illusion today. Let us agree that there is no finish line. There is only the continuous unfolding of your potential. When you reach one goal, you will set another. When you climb one mountain, you will see a higher peak. The game never ends, so you might as well enjoy playing it. You might as well enjoy the sweating and the striving and the learning. Because if you wait until the end to be happy, you will miss your entire life. Your life is happening right now in the midst of the work. Embrace it, obsess over it, and let the person you are becoming be the prize that motivates you to get out of bed every single morning. This is the only path to true and lasting greatness. We have established that the finish line is a moving target and that the obsession with the end result is a trap that keeps you fragile. But knowing this intellectual truth is one thing and living it is something entirely different. Now we must descend into the hardest part of the journey. We must talk about the silent season. We must talk about the time between the planting of the seed and the breaking of the harvest. I call this the gap of despair. It is that vast and terrifying canyon between your current reality and your desired future. It is the period of time where you are putting in maximum effort but seeing zero results. This is the place where 99% of people abandon their dreams. They do not quit because they lack talent. They do not quit because they lack desire. They quit because they cannot handle the silence of the gap. Recognition fades and trophies gather dust, but the discipline you build lasts a lifetime. Once you make that shift, once you decide the work itself is the reward, everything changes. The pressure goes down, the enjoyment goes up, and strangely enough, the results start appearing almost as a surprise because you are too busy working to even notice when they arrive. That is the kind of obsession I want to share with you. But to get there, we have to confront the reality of how the world actually works versus how we wish it worked. Most people set their sights entirely on the outcome. They want the paycheck. They want the title. They want the applause. They want the recognition. They want to look in the mirror one day and see the full picture already finished. But here is the problem with that desire. You do not get results first. You get work first. You get effort first. You get discipline first. In our modern society, we have been conditioned to believe that cause and effect should be simultaneous. We click a button and a package arrives the next day. We type a question and the answer appears in milliseconds. We post a photo and the likes roll in instantly. We have become addicted to the immediate feedback loop, but the laws of success and the laws of nature do not operate on the speed of the internet. They operate on the speed of agriculture. And in agriculture, there is always a delay. There is a lag time. You plant in the spring and you harvest in the fall. You cannot speed up the summer. You cannot force the sun to shine hotter or the rain to fall faster. You have to wait. And in that waiting is where the demons of doubt come to visit. Think about the mechanics of this trap. Someone starts working out. They are motivated. They buy the new shoes. They go to the gym 5 days in a row. They eat the salad. They drink the water. They are doing everything right. 2 weeks go by and they stand in front of the mirror. They look for the change. They step on the scale. And what do they see? Nothing. The number is the same. The reflection is the same. The pain is real, but the result is invisible. In that moment, they stand at the edge of the gap of despair. The voice in their head says, "This is not working." The voice says, "Why suffer if you are not getting the prize?" And because they are obsessed with the result, they quit. They stop right when the internal chemistry was beginning to change. They stop right when the foundation was being laid. Consider the financial journey. Someone starts saving money. They decide to get serious about their freedom. They stop eating out. They drive the old car. They put away a few $100s a week. They make sacrifices. Their friends are out partying, and they are at home saving. A few months go by, and they look at their bank account. It has grown a little bit, but it is still miles away from financial freedom. They look at the mountain ahead, and it seems unclimbable. They think, "I have sacrificed so much, and I am still barely off the ground." This is the gap. It is the distance between the effort you have paid and the reward you have not yet received. Most people look at that gap and they fill it with discouragement. They fill it with frustration. And eventually they give up. Why do they give up? Because their eyes were glued to the results and not on the process that creates them. I have met people who could have done incredible things. They had the brilliance. They had the passion. They could have been great leaders, great artists, great entrepreneurs, but they couldn't handle the delay. They wanted harvest without planting. They wanted reward without sweat. And life simply does not work that way. If you tie your motivation to immediate results, you are finished before you ever really begin. The truth is, results are deceptive. They do not show up right away. Sometimes they show up much later than you expect. And in that gap between effort and reward is where most people disappear. That is the graveyard of dreams. It is called impatience. The tragedy is that the work was actually working. Just because you cannot see the progress does not mean the progress is not happening. Imagine an ice cube sitting in a room that is 25 degrees. You want to melt the ice cube. You start heating the room. The temperature goes to 26 degrees. The ice cube is still solid. You heat it to 27. Still solid. 28, 29, 30, 31. You have put in all this energy. You have burned the fuel. You have done the work. But the evidence of your eyes tells you that nothing has changed. The ice is just as hard as it was when you started. A person obsessed with results would look at that ice cube and say, "This is useless, I am quitting." But the person who understands the gap knows that the heat is being stored. The energy is changing the structure of the ice from the inside out. And then you hit 32 degrees, and suddenly the ice begins to melt. It looks like a sudden event, but it was the result of all the energy you put in when you saw nothing happening. You must understand that the most important changes in your life happen beneath the surface. When you are reading the books and no one notices, you are changing your neural pathways. When you are practicing your craft in the garage and no one is listening, you are refining your touch. When you are saving the money and you look broke to your neighbors, you are building the capital of freedom. The visible world is the last place your success shows up. It shows up in your mind first, then in your habits, then in your character. And only finally does it show up in your bank account or your trophy case. If you need the external proof to validate your internal effort, you will starve to death before the harvest comes. The ones who succeed are the ones who learn to love the work. They show up not because the result is visible yet, but because the process itself has become part of who they are. You see, if you focus only on what you get, you will quit. But if you focus on who you are becoming, you will keep going. Because the work you do daily isn't just about producing something, it is about shaping someone, and that someone is you. That is why I call it the trap of chasing results. The trap looks like this. I will be happy when I lose 20 pounds. I will be satisfied when I make $1 million. I will keep going only if I see progress now. But if you fall into that mindset, you will always be chasing, never becoming. Instead of building a strong foundation, you will be living on fragile conditions, waiting for something outside of you to give you permission to continue. The shift begins when you say, "I am not here just for the trophy at the end. I am here for the person I become along the way." That is how you escape the trap and start building a life that lasts. The process is where the real transformation happens. See, the result is only a snapshot, a moment in time. But the process is the ongoing story of who you are becoming. Every day you engage in the work, you are casting votes for your future self. Each repetition, each hour of discipline, each choice to stay the course, that is where the shaping happens. How do we cross this gap of despair? We cross it by changing our definition of winning. If winning means getting the prize, then every day you do not have the prize is a day you are losing. That is a terrible way to live. It guarantees misery. But if winning means showing up and doing the work, then you can win every single day. You can win today by writing the page. You can win today by doing the workout. You can win today by saving the dollar. When you move the goalpost from the external result to the internal action, you reclaim your power. You no longer need the world to clap for you because you are clapping for yourself. You know that you put in the bricks, and you know that if you lay enough bricks, the wall will eventually be built. Consider the bamboo tree. This is the perfect metaphor for the gap. You plant the seed of the Chinese bamboo tree, and for 4 years you water it and you fertilize it. You come out every day and you look at the ground, and for 4 years you see absolutely nothing. There is no sprout, there is no leaf, there is just dirt. People will walk by and laugh at you. They will say you are watering dead ground. They will say you are wasting your time. A person obsessed with results would have dug up that seed after the first year and thrown it away. But the farmer who understands the gap keeps watering. He keeps believing. And then in the 5th year, something miraculous happens. The bamboo sprout breaks the surface, and within 6 weeks that tree grows 90 feet tall. Now the question is, did it grow 90 feet in 6 weeks, or did it grow 90 feet in 5 years? The answer is obvious. It grew 90 feet in 5 years. If the farmer had stopped watering at any point during those 4 silent years, the tree would have died in the ground. The growth was happening underground. It was developing a root system massive enough to support the weight of a 90-foot giant. Most people want the 90-foot tree, but they do not want the 4 years of watering dirt. They want the glory without the guts. But you cannot have one without the other. The gap is where your root system is built. The gap is where you prove to the universe that you are serious. The gap is the filter that weeds out the pretenders from the contenders. If you are currently in the gap, if you are working hard and seeing no results, I want you to take heart. Do not despair. This silence is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of gestation. You are pregnant with greatness. You cannot rush the birth. You must nurture the seed. You must trust that the laws of the universe are still working even when you cannot see them. The law of sowing and reaping has never been repealed. If you sow, you will reap. It is impossible to plant good seeds consistently and not eventually get a harvest. The only variable is time, and the only enemy is your own impatience. When you feel the despair rising, when you look at your bank account or your business or your body and you feel like quitting, I want you to remember this truth. The work is the reward. The ability to discipline yourself is the victory. The result will come when it is ready. It will arrive on its own schedule, not yours. Your job is not to force the harvest. Your job is to stay in the field. Your job is to keep the faith when the sun is scorching and the rain is delayed. Your job is to be the kind of person who does not need immediate applause to keep doing the right thing. Crossing the gap requires a fundamental change in your philosophy. You must move from a transactional mindset to a transformational mindset. A transactional mind says, I did the work, where is my pay? A transformational mind says, I did the work and now I am stronger. When you value the strength more than the pay, you become unstoppable. Because the pay can be delayed, but the strength is instant. Every time you push through the resistance, you get stronger immediately. Every time you deny a distraction, you get more focused immediately. The internal rewards are instant, even if the external rewards are delayed. Feast on the internal rewards. Let them sustain you while you walk through the desert. So I challenge you today to look at the gap differently. Do not look at it with fear. Look at it with respect. It is the testing ground. It is the fire that burns away the impurities of your character. It is the necessary distance you must travel to become the person who is worthy of the success you desire. Embrace the gap, love the silence, trust the soil, and keep watering. Because one day, and it will be a day just like any other, the sprout will break the surface. And all the years of waiting will be forgotten in the joy of the harvest. But you have to stay in the field long enough to see it. You have to survive the gap. We have spoken about the grand illusion of the finish line, and we have traversed the dangerous gap of despair where most dreams go to die. Now we arrive at the core of the transformation. We must discuss the vehicle that carries you across that gap. That vehicle is not your talent, and it is not your luck. It is your identity. Most people have a fundamental misunderstanding of who they are and how they came to be that way. They believe that identity is a label assigned to them by the world. They think that when the university hands them the diploma, they become a graduate. They think that when the bank approves the loan, they become a homeowner. They think that when the publisher prints the book, they become an author. But this is backward thinking. The world does not give you your identity. The world only recognizes the identity you have already built in the quiet moments when no one was watching. Identity is not a gift, it is a construction project. It is built brick by brick, action by action, day by day. I once knew a man who wanted to be a writer more than anything else in the world. He talked about it constantly. He told his friends at dinner parties that he was going to write the great American novel. He spent hours dreaming of the finished product. He could close his eyes and see his name embossed in gold on the cover. He could imagine the interviews he would give and the applause he would receive at the book signing. But he was paralyzed. Years went by and he never wrote a single chapter. Why? Because he was crushed by the weight of the identity he was trying to claim before he had earned it. The gap between where he was and the author he wanted to be was too wide. He was trying to leap to the top of the mountain without climbing the path. I sat him down one day and I told him the truth that changed his life. I said, you are obsessed with the noun, but you are ignoring the verb. You want to be a noun, an author, but you are refusing to do the verb to write. You cannot have the noun without the verb. I told him to forget about the book. Forget about the publisher. Forget about the audience. Get obsessed with the page. Just one page. If you write one page every day, you are a writer today. You do not need a contract to be a writer. You need a pen. You need a habit. That is what he eventually did. He stopped looking at the mountain and started looking at his feet. One page became two. Two became chapters. Chapters became a manuscript. The book came years later, but by then it was just a formality. He had already become a writer in the fire of the process. This is the secret that the 3% understand. The work does not just produce results, it produces identity. When you look at a runner crossing the finish line of a marathon, you are seeing the result. But the runner did not become a runner at the finish line. He became a runner at 5 a.m. 3 months ago when he laced up his shoes in the pouring rain while everyone else was sleeping. He became a runner when his lungs were burning and his legs were screaming and a voice in his head said stop, but he kept going. That is where the identity was forged. The medal he receives at the end is just a piece of metal. It is a symbol. But the identity of the runner is burned into his nervous system. It is who he is. You must understand that you cannot behave in a way that is inconsistent with how you see yourself. If you see yourself as a lazy person, you will find a way to sabotage your work. If you see yourself as a poor person, you will find a way to get rid of your money. But if you see yourself as a disciplined person, you will do the work even when you are tired, because that is simply what disciplined people do. The question then is, how do you change how you see yourself? You cannot just stand in front of the mirror and shout affirmations. Your brain is too smart for that. It requires evidence. You build a new identity by stacking evidence. Every time you take an action, you are casting a vote for the type of person you want to become. This is the most powerful concept in personal psychology. If you choose the salad over the burger, you are casting a vote for a healthy identity. One salad does not make you healthy, but it registers a vote. If you choose to save that $10 instead of spending it, you are casting a vote for a wealthy identity. If you choose to read for 30 minutes instead of watching television, you are casting a vote for a wise identity. At first, the votes are few, and your old identity is still winning the election. You still feel like a fraud. You still feel like you are pretending. But if you keep casting votes, if you keep showing up day after day, eventually the scales tip. You look at the pile of evidence and you say, I am not pretending anymore. I am this person. I have the receipts. I have the proof. This is why consistency is the mother of identity. Intensity is flashy, but consistency is transformative. You can go to the gym for 5 hours one day and destroy your body, and you will not be an athlete. But if you go for 30 minutes a day for a year, you will be transformed. Who you are is not proven by what you occasionally do. It is defined by what you repeatedly do. There is a reason people lose confidence in themselves so quickly. It is because they break their own promises. They say, I will start tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and they do not. Every time you do that, you vote against the person you want to become. You are telling yourself that your word means nothing. You are eroding your own reputation with yourself. On the other hand, every time you keep your word to yourself, no matter how small, you cast a vote for a stronger identity. You reinforce belief. You build credibility with yourself. Mr. Schoaf always said that the greatest form of discipline is the discipline that is invisible. The things you do when no one is watching. That is where identity is forged. Not on the stage, not in the spotlight, but in the quiet moments. Getting up on time, finishing the task, showing up even when it is inconvenient. Because those small hidden acts accumulate, and soon the world sees the visible outcome of your invisible consistency. Let us talk about the concept of the container. I want you to imagine that your identity is a container and success is water. If you have a container the size of a thimble, and I try to pour a gallon of water into it, what happens? The water spills. It is wasted. It creates a mess. You cannot put a big life into a small character. This is why we see people who achieve sudden success often lose it just as suddenly. We see the lottery winners who are broke in 3 years. We see the young athletes who sign multi-million-dollar contracts and end up bankrupt. Why does this happen? It is not because they are bad people. It is because they received the result before they built the identity. They got the water, but they did not have the container. Wealth is not just a number in a bank account. Wealth is a frequency. If you are not tuned to that frequency, you cannot hold the signal. A wealthy person who loses all their money is still wealthy because they have the identity of a wealth creator. They know how to spot opportunity. They know how to manage risk. They know how to delay gratification. You could strip them naked and drop them in a strange city, and in 5 years, they would be back on top. Why? Because wealth is who they are, not what they have. The result is just the reflection of the identity. If you want to change the reflection, you cannot just polish the mirror. You have to change the face in front of it. I remember a man who came to me and said he wanted to be a leader. He wanted the title of manager. He wanted the corner office. I asked him, why should anyone follow you? He did not have an answer. I told him leadership is not a position, it is a disposition. It is an identity. You do not become a leader when they give you the title. You become a leader when you start taking responsibility for things that are not your fault. You become a leader when you start serving others before yourself. You become a leader when you stay late to help a colleague finish their work. If you do those things long enough, the title will find you. The title is just the world catching up to who you have already become. This is the beauty of the process. The person you are becoming is far more valuable than any result you could achieve. Why is that? Because results can be taken away. The market can crash and take your money. A fire can burn down your house. A new competitor can take your market share. But who you become, that stays. That is permanent. That is the only true security in this life. Security does not come from the job or the bank account. Security comes from the knowledge that you can handle whatever life throws at you, because you have built a character of steel in the fires of discipline. I want you to stop waiting for permission to be who you want to be. Stop waiting for the external result to validate your internal reality. You do not need the applause to know you did a good job. You do not need the scale to tell you that you are healthy. You do not need the bank account to tell you that you are successful. You need to know it because you live it. You need to know it because you have put in the reps. When you operate from this place of internal certainty, you become dangerous. You become unshakable. The world can criticize you, and it does not matter because you know the truth. The world can ignore you, and it does not matter because you are not doing it for the show, you are doing it for the growth. This shift from having to being is the maturity of the soul. Children want to have things. Adults want to be someone. When you are immature, you say, I want to have $1 million. When you are wise, you say, I want to become the kind of person who is worth $1 million. Do you see the difference? One is a fantasy, the other is a goal. One relies on luck, the other relies on growth. One is fragile, the other is solid. If you focus on becoming, the money will often follow as a natural byproduct. But even if it takes longer than you hope, you are still winning because you are improving. You are better today than you were yesterday, and that is the ultimate victory. So how do you build this identity starting today? You start small. You start with the micro commitments. Do not promise yourself you will run a marathon if you have not run a mile. Promise yourself you will walk around the block, and then do it. Keep that promise like your life depends on it, because your psychological life does depend on it. Every time you keep a small promise, you lay a brick in the foundation of your new house. If you do this for a week, you will feel different. You will walk taller. You will look people in the eye. You will have a secret source of pride that has nothing to do with what you own and everything to do with what you did. You are the architect of your own character. You are not a victim of your genetics or your upbringing or your environment. You are a creator, and the material you use to create yourself is your daily action. Every day is a construction site. You show up, you put on your hard hat, and you go to work. Some days it is raining and you do not want to work. Those are the most important days. Those are the days when the walls get thicker and the roof gets stronger. Do not skip the work. Do not look for shortcuts. The shortcut is a lie. The long way is the only way. We live in a world of pretenders. Social media is full of people pretending to have identities they have not earned. They rent the car to look rich. They use filters to look fit. They quote philosophers they have not read to look wise. But deep down, they know they are hollow. They are terrified of being exposed. I do not want that for you. I want you to be solid. I want your identity to be built on the bedrock of undeniable evidence. I want you to be able to look in the mirror and like what you see, not because it is perfect, but because it is real, because it is earned. The identity you build is the legacy you leave. People will forget what you bought, but they will never forget who you were. They will remember your discipline. They will remember your integrity. They will remember your persistence. These are the fruits of the process. So get obsessed with the building. Fall in love with the construction. Do not rush to the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Enjoy the smell of the sawdust and the weight of the hammer. Because in the end, the house you are building is you, and you have to live in it for the rest of your life. Make it a palace of character, not a shack of regret. This brings us to the most critical equation you will ever learn in your life. The difference between the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Before we discuss the most important equation in your life, the difference between the weight of discipline and the weight of regret, I want to invite you to make a commitment. If you are tired of chasing fleeting results and you are ready to start building a lasting identity, this is the community for you. We are building a tribe of people who are obsessed with the process, not just the prize. If that speaks to your soul, please subscribe to the channel right now. Click the bell icon so you never miss a lesson. By subscribing, you are casting a vote for your future self. You are saying, I am ready to do the work. Join us, and let's continue this journey of transformation together. Now, let's talk about the heavy price of regret. If you take nothing else from our time together today, I want you to carve this next philosophy into your mind. It is the most important equation you will ever learn, because it explains the difference between a life of triumph and a life of tragedy. The equation is this: discipline weighs ounces while regret weighs tons. We are all searching for a life without pain. We want the gain without the strain. We want the progress without the struggle. But I am here to tell you that pain is a mandatory part of the human experience. You cannot avoid pain. You can only choose which type of pain you will endure. You are standing at a crossroads every single morning, and you must make a choice. Will you accept the pain of discipline today, or will you defer it and accept the pain of regret tomorrow? The difference is that the pain of discipline tastes like progress, while the pain of regret tastes like ash. Let us examine the ounces. What does the weight of discipline actually feel like? It is the weight of your eyelids when the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. and you want to sleep for another hour. It feels heavy in that moment. It is the weight of saying no to the dessert when you are trying to lose weight. It is the weight of staying home to study when your friends are going out to party. It is the weight of putting that extra $100 into an investment account instead of buying the new shoes you want. In the moment, these things feel like burdens. They feel like sacrifices. They feel like you are missing out. But let us be honest about the weight. It is only ounces. It is a temporary discomfort. It stings for a minute, and then it passes. And what is left behind? A feeling of pride, a feeling of strength, a feeling that you are in control of your own life. The weight of discipline is a constructive weight. It builds muscle. It builds character. It builds the future. Now let us examine the tons. What does the weight of regret feel like? Regret does not show up today. Regret is a ghost that waits for you at the end of the road. It waits until it is too late to change anything, and then it lands on your shoulders with the crushing force of a collapsing building. It is the realization at age 60 that you are broke because you spent every dollar you earned in your 20s and 30s. It is the realization that your body is failing you because you refused to exercise when you had the energy. It is the realization that you stayed in a job you hated for 40 years because you were too afraid to pursue your passion. That weight does not go away. You cannot sleep it off. You cannot apologize to it. It is permanent. It is the heavy knowledge that you could have been something more, but you chose the easy path. Discipline is the price you pay for freedom. Regret is the tax you pay for negligence. Most people run from the ounces of discipline because they are short-sighted. They are like children who want the candy now, regardless of the stomach ache later. They trade what they want most for what they want now. They do not understand that the bill always comes due. Life is a fair accountant. You can pay now, or you can pay later. If you pay now with discipline, you get to enjoy the interest of success later. If you skip the payment now, you will pay later with interest in the form of regret. The price of success must be paid in full, and it must be paid in advance. There are no discounts, and there is no credit. You have to lift the weight today if you want the strength tomorrow. This brings us to the connection between discipline and results. We talked earlier about the trap of being obsessed with results. Here is why that obsession is fatal to discipline. If you only accept the pain of discipline because you want an immediate reward, you will quit when the reward is delayed. If you go to the gym for a week and you are sore and tired, that is the weight of discipline. If you look in the mirror and see no change, you will say this pain is not worth it. You will drop the weight. But if you understand that the discipline itself is the reward, you will keep lifting. You will realize that the soreness means you are alive. The struggle means you are growing. You start to fall in love with the ounces because you know they are saving you from the tons. I want to tell you about the tragedy of the halfway point. This is where most people live. They start the journey. They embrace the discipline for a week or a month. They feel the ounces. But because they do not see the harvest immediately, they begin to drift. Drifting is a subtle failure. It is not a loud explosion. It is a slow slide into mediocrity. It starts with skipping one day. You say it is just one day, it does not matter. Then one day becomes two. Then a week, then a month, and suddenly the drift has taken you miles off course. The danger of the ounces is that they seem insignificant. It seems insignificant to read 10 pages of a book today. It seems insignificant to save $10. But those small, insignificant disciplines accumulate. They compound, and over 10 years they create a massive divergence in destiny. Every day you show up, every time you practice, every choice to persist instead of quit, that is character being built. And character is what will carry you when results seem far away. If you skip the process and demand the reward, you will end up fragile. You will be a house built on sand. The first storm that comes along will blow you over because you do not have the structural integrity that comes from bearing the weight of discipline. But if you embrace the process, you will end up strong. You will be a house built on rock. When the economic winter comes, when the market crashes, when life throws you a curveball, you will stand firm. Why? Because you are used to carrying the weight. You have been training for this moment every single day. And here is what is interesting. When you fall in love with the process, the results often show up when you least expect them. They sneak up on you. You will look back after a year of faithful work and realize you have covered miles you did not even notice because you were too busy doing the work. That is the miracle of process. It makes the journey its own reward. You stop looking at the clock. You stop looking at the scoreboard. You get lost in the rhythm of the work. And suddenly you look up and you are at the top of the mountain. You did not climb the mountain to be seen by the world. You climbed the mountain so you could see the world. And the person who arrives at the summit is not the same person who started at the base. The mountain demanded a price and you paid it in ounces of sweat. Detaching from outcomes is one of the hardest lessons to learn. We live in a culture that glorifies the finish line. We celebrate the winner, not the training. We see the gold medal, not the 4 a.m. wake-up calls. We see the billionaire, not the near bankruptcy. And do not misunderstand me, those things matter. Results are important. We need to feed our families. We want to live good lives. But if results are the only reason you show up, you will not last. Because results do not come every day. Results come at the end of long stretches of work where it feels like nothing is happening. You have to be willing to work in the dark. You have to be willing to water the bamboo tree for 4 years without seeing a sprout. That requires a special kind of discipline. It is the discipline of faith. I knew a young man once who wanted to build a business. He was sharp, full of energy, and had all the ambition in the world. He started with a sprint. He worked 18 hours a day for 3 months. He carried the heavy weight of intensity. But he was addicted to results, not committed to the process. He wanted instant proof, not delayed reward. After a few months, when the customers did not come as quickly as he thought, he quit. He threw his hands up and said, "It does not work." He abandoned the ounces of discipline. And today he carries the tons of regret. He looks back and says, what if? What if I had stayed the course? What if I had kept going? That what if haunts him. It is a tragedy because he was only 3 feet from gold. He stopped digging right before he hit the vein. That is the trap most people fall into. They want harvest without planting, reward without patience, victory without discipline. They want to cheat the system. But the universe is not easily fooled. You cannot cheat the soil. You cannot trick the seasons. If you plant weeds, you will harvest weeds. If you plant nothing, you will harvest nothing. If you plant corn and you water it and protect it, you will harvest corn. It is a law. It is indifferent to your feelings. If you tie your emotions to the outcome, you will always be on a roller coaster. High when things go right, crushed when they do not. That is an exhausting way to live. It burns you out. But if you tie your emotions to the process, you will find steadiness. Because the process is yours. No one can take it from you. You can control the work. You can control your effort. And you can control your habits. The outcome will follow in due time. Think of the farmer. He plants in the spring, but he does not dig up the seeds 2 weeks later to see if anything is happening. He does not stand in the field and cry because there are no crops yet. He trusts the process. He waters, he cultivates, he protects the field from weeds and pests. He carries the ounces of daily labor. And then after a season, the harvest comes. That is the model of life. Get obsessed with doing the daily work and let the results take care of themselves. The results are none of your business. Your business is the work. Your business is the discipline. Your business is showing up. I once asked a successful athlete how he handled the pressure of competition. He told me he did not think about winning or losing during the game. He thought only about execution, doing the small things right play by play. He said, if I take care of the details, the scoreboard will take care of itself. That mindset is what carried him through not only in sports, but later in business and in life. This is where longevity comes from. The person who is tied only to outcomes will quit the moment results slow down. But the person who is in love with the process, who finds satisfaction in showing up, who gains fulfillment from the work itself, nothing can stop them. They become a force of nature. They are not running on motivation, they are running on discipline. Motivation is fickle. Motivation is an emotion. Discipline is a decision. You have to decide today which pain you are going to choose. Are you going to choose the pain of saying no to the distraction? Are you going to choose the pain of looking foolish while you learn a new skill? Are you going to choose the pain of living below your means so you can invest? Or are you going to choose the comfort of today and the regret of tomorrow? I promise you, the pain of discipline is lighter. It feels heavy now, but it makes you lighter. It removes the weight of anxiety. It removes the weight of insecurity. When you know you are doing what you are supposed to do, you sleep better at night. You walk with your head high. You have self-respect. And self-respect is the lightest weight in the world. Regret is a prison. It locks you in the past. It forces you to relive your mistakes over and over again. Do not build that prison for yourself. You have the key in your hand right now. The key is action. The key is discipline. The key is starting today, not tomorrow. Tomorrow is a lie. Tomorrow is the place where dreams go to die. Start today. Pick up the ounces. Carry them with pride. Embrace the struggle. Because every ounce you carry today is a ton of regret you will not have to carry tomorrow. This is the bargain of a lifetime. Trade the ounces for the tons. It is the best investment you will ever make. So when you wake up tomorrow and the alarm goes off and the bed is warm and the world is cold, remember the equation. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. Get up, do the work, set the sail, build the identity, cross the gap, and do not stop until you have become the person you were meant to be. Because in the end, the only thing worse than failing is succeeding at something that does not matter or realizing you never really tried at all. Choose the ounces. Choose the work. Choose yourself. We have talked about the weight of discipline and the crushing burden of regret, but now we must go deeper into the mechanics of where true character is actually formed. We live in a noisy world. We live in a world that is obsessed with the spotlight. Social media has trained us to believe that if it was not recorded, if it was not posted, if it was not seen by an audience, then it did not happen. We have become performers in our own lives, constantly looking for the applause. But I am here to tell you that the most critical work you will ever do, the work that actually determines the trajectory of your destiny, is the work that no one sees. I call this the invisible discipline. This is the discipline of the dark. This is the discipline of the early morning and the late night. This is the discipline of doing the right thing when there is absolutely no one around to give you credit. The world sees the visible outcome. They see the champion holding the trophy. They see the CEO ringing the opening bell. They see the musician playing the sold-out stadium, and they call it success. They call it talent. They call it luck. But what they are seeing is only the tip of the iceberg. The laws of physics tell us that for an iceberg to float, only 10% of its mass can be above the water. 90% of it must be submerged deep in the cold, dark ocean to support the tip. Your life operates on the exact same principle. The visible 10% of your success is supported entirely by the invisible 90% of your discipline. If you try to build a massive visible life on a tiny invisible foundation, you will capsize. You will sink. This is why we see so many public failures. We see people who built the image of success without the substance of discipline, and when the storms of life came, they had no ballast to keep them upright. The invisible discipline is the conversation you have with yourself when you want to quit. It is the decision to finish the set when your muscles are screaming and the trainer has walked out of the room. It is the decision to read the financial report one more time to make sure you understand it when everyone else has gone home. It is the decision to clean up the mess that no one else would notice. Why does this matter? Because you are watching. This is the profound psychological truth that most people miss. You are always an audience to your own performance. You know if you cut corners. You know if you gave 50% effort. You know if you cheated on your diet. You might be able to fool the world with a smile and a nice suit, but you cannot fool the man in the mirror. When you cheat in the dark, you erode your own confidence. Confidence is not a feeling that falls from the sky. Confidence is a reputation you have with yourself. If you have a friend who constantly lies to you, who breaks their promises, who says they will show up and then ghosts you, do you trust that friend? No. You lose respect for them. You stop believing a word they say. Now turn that inward. If you tell yourself you are going to wake up at 6 a.m. and you hit snooze until 7 a.m., you have just lied to yourself. If you tell yourself you are going to save money and you spend it on impulse, you have broken a promise. Over time, you begin to lose trust in your own word. You develop a reputation with yourself as a person who cannot be counted on. This manifests as insecurity. It manifests as imposter syndrome. You feel like a fraud because deep down you know you have not paid the price in the dark. But the reverse is also true, and this is where the power lies. When you keep your promises to yourself, especially the small ones, especially the invisible ones, you build a reservoir of self-respect. When you do the work when you are tired and no one is watching, you send a signal to your subconscious mind that says, I am the real deal. I am a person of substance. I do not need the applause to do the work. I do the work because that is who I am. This builds a kind of confidence that is unshakable. It is quiet confidence. You do not need to shout about your success because you know what you are capable of. You know what you have survived. You know the price you have paid in the shadows. There is a concept in construction called the foundation pour. When they build a skyscraper, they spend months, sometimes years, digging a massive hole in the ground. They pour tons of concrete and steel into the earth. To the casual observer walking by on the street, it looks like nothing is happening. It looks like a mess. There is no building, there is just a hole. But the architect knows that the height of the building is determined by the depth of the foundation. You cannot build a 100-story building on a 2-story foundation. The invisible discipline is your foundation pour. You are digging deep into your character. You are pouring the concrete of habits. You are reinforcing the steel of integrity. The deeper you go in private, the higher you can go in public. Most people want the skyscraper, but they do not want to dig the hole. They want to skip the invisible work. They want to build a penthouse on a shack. And that is why they stay in the 97%. They are obsessed with the facade instead of the foundation. But you must be different. You must fall in love with the underground work. You must find satisfaction in the fact that you are building something that will last. I remember a story about a master carpenter who was building a cabinet. He was polishing the wood on the back of the cabinet, the part that would be pushed against the wall, the part that no one would ever see. His apprentice asked him, "Why are you spending so much time making the back perfect? No one will ever know." The carpenter looked at him and said, "But I will know." That is the essence of invisible discipline. It is the standard you hold for yourself, not because of what you can get away with, but because of who you are. It is the refusal to compromise your own excellence, even when mediocrity would be accepted by everyone else. This invisible work is what prepares you for the opportunities when they finally arrive. People often talk about getting a big break. They think success is about being in the right place at the right time. But I have learned that being in the right place at the right time is useless if you are the wrong person. If the opportunity of a lifetime falls into your lap, but you have not developed the discipline to handle it, the opportunity will crush you. The invisible discipline is your preparation. It is the training camp. You are sharpening your skills so that when the spotlight finally hits you, you are ready. You do not have to get ready, you stay ready. Think about the great athletes. We see them perform for maybe an hour or two on television. We see the glory. But what we do not see is the thousands of hours spent in empty gyms. We do not see the lonely runs at dawn. We do not see the strict diet. We do not see the sacrifice of their social lives. That invisible work is what makes the visible performance look easy. If you want your life to look like a masterpiece, you have to be willing to spend time in the studio getting your hands dirty. You have to be willing to make mistakes when no one is watching so you can be perfect when everyone is watching. There is a spiritual component to this as well. When you practice invisible discipline, you align yourself with the truth. You stop living a double life. Many people have a public face and a private face. In public, they are hardworking and honest. In private, they are lazy and deceitful. This creates a fracture in the soul. It takes an enormous amount of energy to maintain two different personas. You are constantly afraid of being found out. But when your private life matches your public life, you become whole. You become integrated. You have nothing to hide. This releases a massive amount of energy that you can use to build your dreams. You walk with a lightness because you are carrying no secrets. I want you to think about the vote again. Every invisible action is a vote. When you choose to read a book instead of scrolling on your phone, you are voting for wisdom. No one sees you read that page. No one gives you a gold star. But you know, you have cast a vote. When you choose to forgive someone, instead of holding a grudge, you are voting for peace. No one sees that internal struggle. But you know, you have cast a vote. When you choose to keep going when you are exhausted, you are voting for resilience. These votes accumulate. They stack up. And eventually they form the landslide victory of your new identity. The invisible discipline also protects you from the ego. When you are obsessed with the visible results, it is easy to become arrogant. You start to believe your own press. You start to think you are better than others because you have a trophy. But when you are obsessed with the invisible work, you stay humble. You know how hard it was to get there. You know how much effort it took. You respect the process. You respect the struggle. You look at others who are struggling and you do not judge them. You empathize with them because you have been there in the dark. The invisible work keeps you grounded. It keeps you connected to reality. So how do you cultivate this invisible discipline? You start by auditing your private life. Look at the things you do when you are alone. Are they moving you toward your goals or away from them? Are you feeding your mind or poisoning it? Are you building your body or destroying it? You have to be honest with yourself. Brutally honest. And then you have to start making small changes. You do not have to overhaul your entire life overnight. Just start with one invisible habit. Maybe it is making your bed every morning. No one sees it but you. But it starts your day with a completed task. Maybe it is writing down your goals every night. Maybe it is saving 5% of your income. Whatever it is, commit to it. Make a contract with yourself. Sign it in your mind, and then honor it. If you slip up, do not beat yourself up. Just get back on track immediately. The goal is not perfection. The goal is consistency. The goal is to build a track record of reliability with yourself. As you build this invisible discipline, you will notice something shifting in your external world. People will start to treat you differently. They will respect you more. Why? Because people can sense integrity. They can sense when someone is solid. They can sense when someone has depth. Your invisible work radiates a frequency of authority. You do not have to demand respect. You command it by your presence. I challenge you to fall in love with the dark. Fall in love with the early hours. Fall in love with the quiet grind. Stop looking for the camera. Stop looking for the validation. The only validation that matters is the one that comes from within. When you can look yourself in the eye and say, I gave it everything I had, that is the ultimate reward. That is the feeling of a winner. And ironically, when you reach that state of internal validation, the external world usually rushes in to reward you. The money comes, the fame comes, the opportunities come, but by then you almost do not need them because you have already won the game inside. This is the path of the 3%. The 97% are performing for the crowd. They are hollow actors reading a script. The 3% are living the truth. They are solid gold all the way through. Be the 3%. Do the work in the dark so you can shine in the light. Build the foundation so you can hold the skyscraper. Cast the votes so you can win the election of your identity. And as you master this invisible discipline, you will discover something else. You will discover that the work itself begins to give you joy. You will stop seeing it as a sacrifice and start seeing it as a privilege. You will realize that the ability to discipline yourself is the greatest gift you have. It is the tool that allows you to shape your life into a work of art. You are the sculptor and the discipline is your chisel. Chip away at the laziness. Chip away at the fear. Chip away at the doubt. What is left will be the masterpiece of your true self. Now that we have established the foundation of invisible work, we must address the ultimate emotional payoff. We have talked about the struggle. We have talked about the pain, but what about the joy? What is the feeling we are actually chasing? Is it happiness? No, happiness is fleeting. We are chasing something deeper. We are chasing fulfillment. And as we will see in the next part, fulfillment does not live where you think it lives. It does not live at the finish line. It lives right here in the middle of the struggle. We have arrived at what I believe is the most misunderstood concept in the entire pursuit of the good life. We have talked about discipline and identity and the hard work of the invisible hours, but now we must ask the ultimate question. What is it all for? Why are we doing this? We are doing it because we are chasing a feeling. We call that feeling fulfillment. We call it satisfaction. We call it happiness. And the great tragedy of the human experience is that we spend our entire lives looking for this feeling in exactly the wrong place. We are like a man looking for his keys under the street lamp because the light is better there, even though he dropped them in the dark alley. We look for fulfillment at the finish line. We think it will arrive the moment the bank account hits a certain number. We think it will arrive when the title is finally on the desk. We think it will arrive when the applause is loud enough to drown out our insecurities. But I am here to tell you that fulfillment does not live at the end of the road. It lives in the journey itself. It lives in the work. I have traveled the world, and I have met people who have achieved results that most only dream about. I have sat with billionaires and champions and celebrities, people who have the cars and the houses and the fame, and many of them confess something surprising to me in private. They tell me that the moment they reached the summit was not the happiest moment of their lives. In fact, many of them felt a deep sense of emptiness the day after the victory. They call it the post-achievement depression. They asked, is this it? Is this all there is? They realized too late that the joy was not in the having, it was in the getting. It was in the becoming. They felt most alive not when they held the trophy, but when they were in the trenches fighting for it. They felt most fulfilled during the late nights when no one was watching, during the struggles that forced them to grow, and during the moments when they almost quit but didn't. That is where their pride lived. Not in the result, but in the sweat it took to earn it. This brings us to a philosophy that changes everything about how you view your daily life. You must stop trying to escape the work and start trying to master it. Most people view their work, their discipline, and their daily grind as a necessary evil. They see it as the toll they have to pay to get to the weekend or to get to retirement. They are constantly wishing for less work. They are wishing for things to be easier. But wishing for things to be easier is a death sentence for your potential. Do not wish for less work, wish for more skill. Do not wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. Because once you stop fighting the work, once you stop resenting the grind, something miraculous shifts inside you. You start to see the process itself as the reward. You are no longer enduring the day, you are engaging with it. You are no longer waiting to live, you are living right now in the midst of the difficulty. Let me tell you about a young man I knew who wanted success fast. He was obsessed with the destination. He wanted the money, and he wanted it yesterday. He was chasing the results so hard that he skipped steps. He cut corners. He looked for every hack and every shortcut. He was miserable. He was constantly frustrated because the payoff did not come quickly enough. He lived in a cycle of disappointment and anxiety. I told him to slow down. I told him, you are missing the point. You are trying to arrive, but you have forgotten to travel. Learn to enjoy the work itself. Find joy in the process of building. Build the habits, sharpen the skills, show up even when no one notices. He did not believe me at first. He thought fulfillment would only come when he got the big break. He thought I was just giving him old-fashioned advice. But after hitting a wall again and again, he finally changed his approach. He stopped looking at the horizon and started looking at his hands. He started pouring himself into the craft. He started taking pride in writing a good email. He started taking pride in organizing his day. He started taking pride in the small, invisible disciplines we discussed earlier. And years later, when he finally achieved the result, he came back to me. He said something I will never forget. He said the goal was not what made me proud. The money is nice, but it did not change me. What made me proud was realizing I had become the kind of person who could earn it. He found fulfillment not in the prize, but in his own capacity. He realized that he was strong. He realized that he was disciplined. He realized that he was capable. That is a feeling that no market crash can take away. That is a feeling that no recession can destroy. This is the definition of true fulfillment. It is when you realize you do not need the applause to keep going. It is when you realize the reward is not only at the finish line, it is in becoming stronger, wiser, and more disciplined each day you work. It is the quiet satisfaction of putting your head on the pillow at night, knowing you gave it everything you had. It is the knowledge that you did not cheat, you did not hide. You faced the resistance and you won. That victory happens every single day, not just on the day you get the trophy. If you can learn to access that feeling of victory daily, you will never burn out. You will have a renewable source of energy that comes from within. That is why you cannot tie your satisfaction to results. If you do, you will always be at the mercy of something outside your control. You cannot control the timing of the harvest. You cannot control the economy. You cannot control the opinions of others. If your happiness depends on those things, you will be a slave to circumstance. You will be up when the world is up and down when the world is down. But if you tie your satisfaction to the process, you become free. You can control your effort. You can control your attitude. You can control your focus. You can control your preparation. When you tie your happiness to things you control, you find steadiness. You find peace in the middle of the storm. You can say, I may not have the result yet, but I have done the work, and that is enough for today. We have to dismantle the I will be happy when trap. This is the most dangerous mental trap in the world. I will be happy when I get married. I will be happy when I get the promotion. I will be happy when I buy the house. No, you will not. You will be happy for about 10 minutes, and then you will return to your baseline level of happiness. If you are miserable on the journey, you will be miserable at the destination. You cannot carry a miserable person to a happy destination. The person arrives with you. You have to learn to be happy now. You have to learn to find fulfillment in the striving. You have to find the joy in the climb. The view from the top is only beautiful if you enjoyed the hike. If you hated every step, the view will just remind you of the pain. Think about the artist. The painter does not paint the picture just to finish it. If the goal was just to have a finished painting, he would buy one. He paints because he loves the act of painting. He loves the smell of the oils. He loves the stroke of the brush. He loves the problem-solving of light and shadow. The finished painting is just the evidence that he spent time doing what he loved. Your life is your canvas. Your work is your paint. Your discipline is your brush. Do not rush to finish the painting. Enjoy the strokes. Enjoy the messy parts. Enjoy the parts where you have to scrape it off and start again. This is your life. It is happening right now. It is not waiting for you at the finish line. It is right here in the messy, beautiful struggle. I want you to think about the word enough. In our culture, enough is a dirty word. We always want more. And ambition is good. Desire is good. But you must find a place where your daily effort is enough for your self-respect. You have to be able to look at a day of hard work, even if it yielded no visible fruit, and say that was enough. If you can do that, you can sustain yourself for the long haul. If nothing is ever enough, if you are always beating yourself up for not being further ahead, you will break your own spirit. You need to be your own best cheerleader, not your own worst tyrant. Celebrate the effort. Celebrate the fact that you showed up when you didn't want to. That is a victory worth celebrating. When you embrace this philosophy, you become magnetic. People are drawn to those who are fulfilled in their work. We are attracted to people who love what they do, not just what they get. When you see a musician who is lost in the music, it is captivating. When you see a leader who is passionate about the mission, not just the bonus, it is inspiring. When you obsess over the process, you radiate a kind of joy that is rare in this world. Most people are radiating stress and neediness. They need the result to feel okay. But you are radiating abundance because you are generating your own fulfillment every minute. You are not waiting for the world to give you permission to feel good. You have given yourself permission. This doesn't mean you stop having goals. Goals are essential. They give you direction. They set the sail. But the goal is not the source of happiness. The goal is the target that allows you to engage in the game. Without a hoop, there is no basketball game. But the joy of basketball is not the score, it is the playing. It is the dribble, it is the pass, it is the shot. The score just tells you how you are doing. Use your goals to structure your life, but use your process to fuel your life. Do not confuse the scoreboard with the game. You can lose on the scoreboard and still win in your spirit if you played with excellence. And usually if you play with excellence long enough, the scoreboard eventually turns in your favor. Let me ask you a question. If you knew you would never arrive at the final destination, would you still take the journey? If the answer is no, then you are on the wrong journey. You need to find a path where the walking itself is worth it. You need to find work where the labor itself is the reward. This is the ultimate secret of the 3%. They do what they do because they love who they become when they do it. The money and the fame are just extra. They are the cherry on top, but the cake is the work. If you take away the cherry, they still have the cake. If you are only doing it for the cherry, you will starve. So my challenge to you is to reframe your entire life starting today. Stop looking at your alarm clock as an enemy. Look at it as the starting gun for another day of becoming. Stop looking at your difficult boss or your challenging clients as obstacles to your happiness. Look at them as the weights in the gym that are making you stronger. Stop looking at your empty bank account as a source of shame. Look at it as the blank canvas where you are going to paint your masterpiece of financial independence. Everything changes when you change your perspective. The burden becomes a blessing. The struggle becomes a strategy. The pain becomes power. Fulfillment is not a place you go. It is a place you come from. It is a state of mind that you bring to everything you do. You can be fulfilled washing dishes if you do it with excellence and mindfulness. You can be miserable running a billion-dollar company if you are constantly anxious about the next quarter. It is not the activity, it is the attitude. It is the set of the sail. So set your sail for fulfillment right now. Do not wait for the wind to change. Decide that you are going to enjoy this climb. You are going to enjoy the blisters. You are going to enjoy the cold nights and the steep ascents, because you know that this is where life is. This is where you are made. The journey is long and it is winding. There will be valleys and there will be peaks. But if you can learn to love the walking, you will never be lost. You will always be exactly where you are supposed to be. You will be here now, fully alive, fully engaged, fully becoming. And that, my friends, is the only true success there is. Everything else is just decoration. The substance is you. The substance is the journey. Now that we have discovered where fulfillment truly lives, we are ready to bring this entire philosophy together. We are ready to wrap up our time with a final mandate. We have covered the illusion of the finish line, the gap of despair, the building of identity, the weight of discipline, the invisible work, and the joy of the journey. But knowledge without action is just entertainment. It is time to make a decision. It is time to decide if you are going to just listen or if you are going to change. The conclusion is not the end of the video, it is the beginning of your new life. We have arrived at the final gate of our journey together. We have spent this time deconstructing the myths of success and rebuilding a philosophy based on truth. We have shattered the illusion of the finish line and exposed it for what it is, a moving target that can never truly satisfy the human soul. We have looked into the terrifying gap of despair, where dreams go to die, and we have built a bridge across it using the power of patience and perspective. We have learned that identity is not a gift from the gods, but a structure built by the daily labor of your own hands. We have weighed the ounces of discipline against the crushing tons of regret. We have shone a light on the invisible work that happens in the dark, and we have discovered that true fulfillment does not live in the prize, but in the struggle itself. You now possess the map. You have the keys to the kingdom of self-mastery. But standing at the gate is not the same as walking through it. The tragedy of the human experience is that the distance between knowing and doing is often wider than the ocean. You know what to do. The question that remains, the only question that truly matters is, will you do it? Most people will not. I want to be honest with you because I respect you too much to sell you a fantasy. The gravity of the 97% is incredibly strong. It pulls you back toward mediocrity with a relentless force. It pulls you back toward the comfort of the herd. The moment this video ends, the world will try to snatch this seed of greatness out of your hand. The distractions will call your name. The television will offer you an escape. Your old habits will whisper that it is too hard and that you should start tomorrow. And the voice of fear will tell you that you are not ready. This is the moment of decision. This is the moment that separates the dreamers from the achievers. You must realize that indecision is a decision. If you do not actively choose to be obsessed with the work, you are passively choosing to be obsessed with the illusion. Poverty requires no plan. Failure requires no effort. You do not have to do anything to drift. You just have to let go of the oars. But success requires a declaration of war against the status quo. I want you to fast forward in your mind. I want you to use the incredible power of your imagination to travel 10 or 20 years into the future. Imagine you continue on your current path. Imagine you change nothing. You keep chasing the result without doing the work. You keep waiting for the big break. You keep avoiding the ounces of discipline. Look at that version of yourself 20 years from now. Look at the stress in their eyes. Look at the fear. They are older, but they are not wiser. They are still chained to the same insecurities. They are still waiting for permission to live. They are filled with the bitter taste of regret. They are thinking about the day they watched this video and decided to do nothing. They are thinking about the potential that withered on the vine because they were too afraid to water it. Can you feel their pain? That is the pain of regret, and it is the heaviest burden a human being can carry. Now I want you to imagine a different future. Imagine that today you decide enough is enough. Imagine that today you draw a line in the sand and say, I will not live like this anymore. You stop chasing the trophy and you start chasing the transformation. You embrace the invisible discipline. You fall in love with the boredom of consistency. You start casting votes for your highest self every single hour of every single day. Now look at that version of yourself 20 years from now. Look at the peace in their eyes. They are free. They are strong. They have financial dignity. They have the respect of their peers and the love of their family. But more importantly, they have self-respect. They look back at this day not with regret, but with gratitude. They remember this as the day everything changed. They remember this as the day they stopped wishing and started working. Which future do you want? The choice is not out there in the wind. The choice is right here in your mind. You must understand that results are never fully in your hands. You cannot control the timing. You cannot control the market. You cannot control every circumstance. But the work that is yours, every choice you make, every habit you build, every ounce of effort you give, that belongs to you. And when you get obsessed with that part, you do not have to wait for results to feel alive. You are already living with purpose. Remember, this life is not shaped by one grand decision. It is shaped by the small daily ones. What time you wake up, how you spend your morning, whether you choose discipline or distraction. Those little choices cast the votes that add up to your future. And if you want to guarantee the outcome, then cast enough votes through consistent effort that the results cannot help but show up. So don't sit around waiting for applause. Don't pin your happiness to the next milestone. Instead, learn to love the sweat, the repetition, the grind. Because if you can fall in love with the process, then you will never lose, even if the result takes longer than you expected. Success is not the trophy. It is who you became while chasing it. Remember, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. That is what I have learned. The only way you get better is by showing up for the work day after day. If you do that, the results will not just show up once, they will follow you everywhere you go. This journey we are on is not just about money, and it is not just about success. I want to make that crystal clear. If you think this is just about having a big bank account, you have missed the point. This is about who you become in the process of building that account. It is about the character you forge in the fire of discipline. It is about the person you must become to attract success. The money is just the scorecard. The real prize is the person you see in the mirror, a person of integrity, a person of vision, a person of control. That is true wealth. When you have that kind of internal wealth, no one can take it away from you. The market can crash, the currency can collapse, but you will still be you. You will still have the skills and the mindset to build it all back again. So what must you do right now? Do not leave this video without a commitment. Motion creates emotion. Action cures fear. I challenge you to take specific steps today, not tomorrow. Today. First, I want you to identify one area of your life where you have been chasing the result but neglecting the work. Maybe it is your health. Maybe it is your finances. Maybe it is a creative project. Admit to yourself that you have been looking for the shortcut. Then I want you to commit to one small, invisible discipline in that area. If it is writing, write one page. If it is health, do one workout. If it is money, save $1. Do it today. Prove to yourself that you are entering the game. Second, I want you to detach from the timeline. Stop asking, when will I get there? That is the wrong question. The right question is, am I growing today? If the answer is yes, then you are winning. Release the pressure of the deadline and embrace the pressure of the standard. Hold yourself to a standard of excellence, not a schedule of rewards. When you stop watching the clock, you start watching your form. And when your form is perfect, the result is inevitable. And this brings me to a very special invitation. You cannot walk this road alone. The path to the 3% is a lonely path if you try to walk it in isolation. The world around you will try to drag you down. Your friends might mock you. Your family might not understand why you are working so hard. You need a tribe. You need a community of people who are also striving for excellence. You need to surround yourself with people who are asking the same questions and fighting the same battles. That is what we are building here on this channel. This is not just a YouTube channel. This is a gathering place for the people who refuse to settle. This is a university of self-reliance. If you felt a spark while watching this video, if you felt something waking up inside of you, then I invite you to join us. Click that subscribe button right now. Do not do it for me. Do it for yourself. Do it as a statement of intent. When you subscribe, you are raising your hand and saying, I am in. I am part of this movement. I am committed to my growth. By joining this community, you are ensuring that you will have a constant stream of high-value ideas flowing into your life. You are putting yourself in the environment of growth. And remember, environment is stronger than willpower. If you stay connected to this fire, you will stay warm. If you drift away, you will grow cold. We publish these videos to serve you, to give you the tools that the school system never gave you, to remind you of your power when you feel weak, to give you the strategy when you feel lost. But we can only help you if you stay connected. So hit the notification bell. Make an appointment with your future self to watch every single video we release. Treat this channel as your mentor. Let us walk this path together. You do not have to figure it all out by yourself. We have the map. We have the flashlight. All you have to do is walk. I want to leave you with a final thought. Life is fragile, and time is the most precious resource we have. We act as if we have forever, but we do not. The clock is ticking. Every second that passes is a second you can never get back. You can earn more money, but you can never earn more time. Do not waste another year of your life drifting. Do not waste another year hoping for a break. Be the break. Be the change. The world is starving for leadership. The world is looking for people who have their lives together. Be that person for your family. Be that person for your community. You have greatness within you. I know it because you are still watching. The 97% clicked away 10 minutes ago to watch a cat video or scroll through social media. But you are still here. That tells me something about you. It tells me that you are hungry. It tells me that you are searching. It tells me that you have the seed of the 3% inside you. Now you must water it. You must protect it. You must let it grow. Go out there and set your sail. Face the wind with courage. Create value with intensity. Manage your resources with discipline. Master your emotions with logic. Plant your seeds with patience. And learn with curiosity. If you do these things, I promise you that you will not only build a fortune, you will build a life. A life that matters. A life that inspires. A life that will be remembered long after you are gone. The doors to the prison of the 97% are unlocked. They have always been unlocked. You can walk out anytime you choose. You just have to stand up and walk. Today is the day you stand up. Today is the day you walk. Today is the day you claim your birthright of abundance. So obsess over the work, not the scoreboard. Pour yourself into the daily disciplines. Take pride in the effort. Celebrate the progress. And let the results take care of themselves. Because in the end, the real prize is not what you got. It is who you became along the way. I believe in you. I believe in your capacity to change. I believe that your best days are not behind you, they are in front of you. But you must seize them. The future belongs to the bold. The future belongs to the disciplined. The future belongs to you. So go make it happen. Like this video to seal your commitment. Subscribe to the channel to join the tribe. And let us get to work. I will see you at the top because the bottom is far too crowded. Thank you and goodbye for now.